Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into something absolutely wild. We're talking about a real-world, modern-day locked room mystery. Forget fiction, right? This is a massive case study in human behavior, security vulnerabilities, and just top-notch detective work. We're going to break down exactly how an impossible crime actually happened, step by step, using the real evidence gathered during the investigation. So, let's jump right into the million-dollar disappearance.
Okay, picture this. It's just a completely normal Monday morning. People are sipping their coffee, booting up their computers, getting ready for the start of the week at a local bank. Everything seems totally routine. But then, employees make a discovery that literally stops the entire branch dead in its tracks. We're not talking about a couple of misplaced 20s from a teller's drawer here. Nearly $1 million had vanished from a highly secure vault overnight. I mean, imagine the sheer panic. $1 million in physical cash just doesn't walk away. The stakes are instantly sky high.
Part 1. The Vanishing Million.
Part 2. A locked room mystery.
So when a sum of money that massive just disappears, the initial reaction is pure confusion, right? The bank employees are looking around, wondering if they're in the middle of a colossal accounting error or a major crime scene. Now put yourself in the shoes of the detectives arriving at this so-called impenetrable fortress. They are walking into a situation that completely defies logic. In a Hollywood movie, you expect chaos. Blown vault doors, shattered glass, sirens blaring everywhere. But investigators walking into this scene, they found absolutely none of that. First off, no signs of forced entry. Whoever did this didn't pry their way in. Second, no broken locks. The vault was completely intact. And third, maybe the most chilling part, no alarms were tripped. That silence is kind of the loudest clue of all. The detectives quickly realized they were dealing with a ghost. It was like the money had just evaporated into thin air.
So, what do? When the physical crime scene gives you absolutely nothing, you turn to the digital footprint. Police immediately began investigating the bank's security system. And this is where we get the very first major break in the case. After hours of reviewing tapes, the footage revealed something super specific. It showed only one person entering the vault area after closing time. Just one. Let that sink in for a second. Out of everyone in the city, everyone who works at that bank, the camera captured a single individual in the restricted zone when no one else was around.
And this brings us to this brilliant, immediate conflict for the detectives. Because on one hand, you have this guy named Daniel. He isn't some shadowy masked cat burglar. He is a 10-year trusted employee of the bank, a familiar face, a colleague, someone with a pristine reputation built over a decade. But on the other hand, you have the cold hard facts. He is the sole person on that security footage in the vault area after hours. As an investigator, you're forced to reconcile these two heavily conflicting things. How does the trusted veteran employee suddenly become the prime suspect in an impossible heist?
Naturally, the police bring Daniel in for questioning. And you know what? His answer is incredibly calm and, honestly, completely plausible. He tells them he was just performing a routine inspection. And here's the really frustrating part for the detectives. At first, this alibi totally held up. Because he was a 10-year employee, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility at all. He knew the protocols, he knew the systems. At this stage, detectives had zero concrete evidence against him. The physical vault was fine, and he had a perfectly valid excuse for being on camera. He was a trusted insider, and that trust was basically his shield.
Which brings us to part 3, following the money. Okay, so when the physical evidence runs cold and your suspect has a rock-solid alibi, what is the golden rule of any investigation? You follow the money. Detectives realized they weren't going to solve this by staring at an unbroken vault door. They needed to shift their focus to Daniel's financial records. And guys, this is where the dominoes rapidly begin to fall. Just days after the $1 million vanished, investigators noticed Daniel suddenly pays off massive debts. We aren't talking about a quick credit card bill. We are talking huge financial liabilities just wiped clean in an instant. And it doesn't stop there. Shortly after clearing those debts, Daniel goes out and purchases a luxury car. The pacing of this is staggering. His reckless financial moves rapidly painted a massive target on his back. You just can't make $1 million vanish on Monday and start living like a millionaire on Wednesday without raising some serious red flags.
Part 4. The Storage Unit Secret.
So those financial records finally gave the police the thread they needed to pull. They knew he suddenly had wealth, but paying off debts electronically still isn't the physical cash, right? Well, through a really deep dive into his recent activities, police uncovered a hidden asset, a storage unit. But Daniel didn't rent it under his own name. He rented it under a fake name, which obviously proves his intent to hide it. And when police finally breached that storage unit, boom, they found the smoking gun. Inside were literal stacks of cash.
And not just any cash. This cash was still wrapped in the official bank packaging. It was the exact money taken from the vault. This was the undeniable physical proof that completely shattered that whole routine inspection alibi. Faced with this overwhelming mountain of proof, the financial records, the timeline, the fake name, the actual physical cash, Daniel finally confessed. And his confession revealed just how highly calculated this crime really was. He didn't just stumble into an open vault on a whim. No way. He had spent months studying the bank's security system. He used his 10 years of trusted access to learn every single blind spot, every protocol, every schedule. He carefully planned the theft, absolutely believing he would never, ever be caught. It was a methodical, premeditated betrayal of trust.
And that leads us to our final section, the insider threat. Now, before we get to the big takeaway here, let's tie up the loose ends of the case. Thanks to the really diligent work of following that financial footprint to the storage unit, most of the stolen money was successfully recovered by the authorities. So the bank was made almost entirely whole. As for Daniel, well, his months of planning and his 10 years of service ended in a courtroom. He was sentenced to prison. The immediate problem was solved, but the lingering lesson of this case definitely remained.
Let's slow down for a second and look at what this actually teaches us. This brings us to a really crucial concept, the insider threat. This is the reality that sometimes the biggest threats come not from strangers, but from the people we trust the most. And this goes way beyond just one local bank. This is a fundamental principle of security in literally any organization. Companies will spend millions of dollars building impenetrable vaults, setting up these incredibly complex alarm systems, putting heavy locks on the doors just to keep the bad guys out. But proximity often equals vulnerability. Daniel didn't need to break the locks because he had the keys. He didn't need to bypass the alarms because he knew exactly how to turn them off. The fortress was breached from the inside. It's a pretty sobering reminder that while external security is vital, trust without verification can be a million-dollar mistake.
Well, we've followed the vanished money, we've broken down the locked room, and we've uncovered the insider threat. Now I want to turn this over to you. What would you have done if you were the detective on this case? Would you have zeroed in on Daniel's alibi right away, or do you think you might have been fooled by his 10 years of service? Would you have thought to look at the financial records, or would you be stuck looking for broken locks on the vault? It's an incredible case study in deduction, and I really want to hear your investigative strategies. So let me know your thoughts on how you would have handled the clues in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.